Elon Musk is continuing to hold true to his promise of transparency at Twitter, with the Twitter Files Part 2 confirming something else we all already knew, but now know for absolute certain with evidence from Twitter itself directly. Namely, that Twitter had secret blacklists or shadow bans that they applied to accounts that they didn't like, near exclusively from the right wing of politics. Again, we all knew it. This was no secret. Everyone knew this. Even the left knew it, yet they pretended it wasn't happening. Every last time you've seen a left-wing commentator argue that Twitter was boosting the right wing, well, they were lying their little asses off, and knowingly so. All of the other social media platforms as well do this very self-same thing. I can all but guarantee it. Here's the thing. All of these social media giants, all of these Silicon Valley giants, they talk to each other. We know that for a fact. They are literally next door to each other. They can walk on right over and visit each other. They have lunches and they have phone calls with each other. If one platform does this, the others are going to do so as well, because it seems like a good thing. It seems like something that fits their agenda, frankly. And, well, the proof here is, again, absolutely undeniable. Hell, the worst part about it, this is the exact same back-end view that we saw in those leaks years ago, proving that those two were absolutely true. And of course, again, almost exclusively right-wing accounts. In fact, I believe all actually exclusively so far. And they bring up a special big example with the libs of TikTok here, which had their own little process, you see, as there were two levels of censorship going on at Twitter here. But before that, I also want to point out how long this has been going on. So this is from 2018 right here. Twitter denies conservative shadow banning claims but alters search functions. Back then, Twitter was saying that no, we don't ban along political lines. We don't shadow ban. We don't suppress anything. Of course not. Are you crazy? We've had some minor technical issues that have caused some people to not show up in Twitter searches, but that's all. That's all. We would never do anything so immoral. And of course, the left wing at the time leapt at it. Twitter would like to make it very clear that Twitter doesn't shadow ban. Hello and good morning. Just want to drop a quick line to say that Twitter isn't shadow banning you. Fuck you, lying son of a bitch. Despite reports you might have read to the contrary this week, a Vice article claimed that folks like the chair of the RNC were victimized. Twitter is not engaging in some organized internal effort to hide your tweets and your account from the wider world of Twitter. Yes, Twitter is. In fact, they had two separate groups engaged in doing this. There was the, the SRT GET, the Strategic Response Team Global Escalation Team. They handled up to 200 cases per day given to them by various Twitter employees of accounts that they wanted to see shadow banned or they were worried of. And they would then make decisions on each and every account as to whether or not it would be shadow banned and to what degree it would be shadow banned as well. That is the first level of this thing that totally didn't exist. No, don't be crazy. Twitter isn't doing any of that, you see, you silly conservative. And then there was the Site Integrity Policy Escalation Support, which was the top level governing agency here by the head of Legal Policy and Trust, Vijay Gade, again, who lied bold-facedly in the Joe Rogan interview. The global head of trust and safety, Joel Roth, subsequent CEOs Jack Dorsey and Parag Agrawal, and others. These were the ones that made the decision about the big accounts like the libs of TikToks, which if they banned them, it might have serious consequences, it might have real fallout and blowback on Twitter. They even launched campaigns and internal emails, like this one here, where they basically said that, okay, so Libs of TikTok had been suspended, I think they said 6 times, for having violated Twitter's rules on harmful or hateful speech. And yet, in this, they admit that they hadn't been violating these policies at all, but the moment they did, their account would be deleted permanently from Twitter. In other words, the secret cabal at the top of Twitter, or now not so secret, the public cabal at the top of Twitter, were making decisions on the big account and desperately looking for any excuse that they could use to justify their deletion. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is not even just a hunch, it is now observable, literal fact. And it comes now, of course, on top of the Hunter Biden laptop scandal as well, which proved that Twitter has censored news stories for expressly political reasons. And now we also know that they are censoring accounts for similar reasons. But here's the problem. Here's the big problem. The previous round Twitter files were completely and utterly ignored by the entirety of the mainstream media establishment. All of them called it a complete nothing burger and did everything they could to bury it. Like here, for example, what's the bottom line? After all this time and hand-wringing, after dozens of New York Post stories, after hundreds of hours of Fox News airtime, and the thousands of tweets, I'm still not clear what the actual stakes are in the Hunter Biden scandal. There are countless articles like this, making ridiculously long articles, trying to row like mad to figure out some way to make this not seem like a big deal. From Gizmodo there. It's like, I don't understand. This isn't a big deal. The laptop totally wasn't real at all after all. And hey, you know what? Let us say, for the sake of argument, the laptop was a pure fabrication. In fact, it was made by Donald Trump personally. Yes, Trump himself went to the data shop repairman, he handed it in, he wore a mask and everything, he did it. It was totally Trump all along, right? In this hypothetical scenario, with all of this being true, the fact remains that Twitter buried it because it was dangerous and harmful specifically to the Democratic Party. They were the ones who were being harmed here. It did not fulfill Twitter's, again, as the Twitter file said, they were hiding it for their hacked content policy, which their head of legal admitted didn't hold water. They knew they didn't have a reason to hide it, they did it anyway, and we all know precisely why. We even know that in all due likelihood, if the laptop scandal had been allowed to hit the internet in full force, it may very well have actually affected the election to the point of flipping it. In other words, what was at stake here, Gizmodo author? The integrity of the United States electoral system. That was what was at stake here. A minor thing, I know. Flawless and infallible as it is, natürlich. That was what at stake here. Well, what was at stake? Oh yeah, no, it was at stake. I mean, the stakes have long since disappeared by now, of course, obviously. And, well, this too will in all due likelihood be buried. Now, what needs to happen here is that lawsuits need to be brought against everyone who was previously involved in this, because they were knowingly violating their platformness. I'm sorry, my English is failing me right now, but Section 230 says that a platform is a platform and therefore immune to a lot of lawsuits so long as it remains a platform, a neutral place that does not editorialize. Now, that entire section of law is so goddamn retarded that you actually see platforms like YouTube argue that they are editorializing whilst also arguing that they aren't in the same court document. But this is now absolute, unquestionable, undeniable proof that Twitter has, and that the tops of Twitter knew, agreed with it, encouraged it, and engaged in it as well. Now, the Republican Party as well, because this is of course an American issue right now, should just sit down, chill back, kick it, wait for a couple of weeks, maybe a month, see what else Elon brings out, then gather up all the evidence, present it to their legal teams, and build a massive legal campaign around it, and then build their entire election campaign on this. This should be the basis fundament of the Republican Party's drive for president in 2024, and frankly, any further political campaigns for the next decade or so. I mean, this is a horse that can be ridden into the sunset for half a millennia. Because again, it is definitive proof that the opposite side were engaging in very, very nasty behavior and were given unfair advantages due to social media platforms. This is, again, like they said during the first round of the Twitter files, this makes Watergate look like a kindergarten. Well, we're on Watergate Part 2 now, and it'll likely only get worse from here. I hope to God that the Republican Party in America has enough intelligence to make this a major talking point and to keep it a major talking point until the election. Again, this needs to be hammered, because the media will ignore it and ignore it and ignore it, and when they can't ignore it, they will bury it. I also hope that Elon has yet further bombs to drop as well, because so far this has been rather amusing. And hey, you know what? Again, I will say this hasn't been news for me. It hasn't been news for you. But having actual hard evidence does, at the end of the day, make all the difference. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I hope to see you all again soon with yet more good news. This has been a nice week, hasn't it? A lot of good games, hedge funds losing billions of dollars, and now this. It really is Christmas. Have a good day.